Hello and welcome, everyone. We're really excited to have you here today for our weekly deep dive series with OCI Product Management. For those of you who might be new to these events, we're hosted on Cloud Customer Connect, which is our Oracle community forum for end users. You'll see links in the chat throughout the presentation today that lead you to the Cloud Customer Connect forums, and we invite you to create a free account, join in discussions, look for upcoming events on all kinds of topics. Welcome, I am Kenna Ketrick. I am Program Manager with the OCI Go-to-Market team, and today I'm joined by Usman, Senior Manager of Product Management, and Phil Newman, Director of Product Management here at OCI. Today, they'll provide some insight into our updated Oracle Cloud Console, including better navigation, automation, and more. Usman, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I'm going to run a quick poll. Those of you who've joined us before will recognize this one. If you would like to take a moment to answer this poll, we design these weekly sessions with you, our end users, in mind. So we really appreciate your thoughts on what topics interest you the most, so we can schedule based on that. Speaking of our weekly topics, we're actually taking a break next week for the US holiday weekend. But the week after that, on July 8th, we'll be back here at 8 a.m. Pacific for a dive into our recently announced Oracle Support Rewards program. So keep an eye on our events calendar to register for that soon and come find out how you can earn rewards and reduce spending on Oracle licensed software. I'm also going to drop a link in chat to our survey that we're running. We really appreciate your feedback and your time. So if you want to take a couple minutes to fill that out at some point, that would be really helpful for us. All right, I think that is enough from me. Go ahead and take it away, Phil and Usman.
All right, thank you. Good morning. So my name is Phil, and I'm joined by Usman. Usman and I are both on the product management team here at OCI. So we work closely with the engineering team, and we love listening to customers, understanding what problems you have, and working on solutions for you. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to walk you through some of the new features in our console and platform and talk about how they can get you started on OCI Cloud, reduce your time to seeing value, and how to be really successful in our cloud. We're going to start with a few key problems that we see from a lot of our customers across all cloud platforms, really. OCI strategy to tackle these problems, and then give you an overview of our new releases. Finally, we'll walk through some demos that show some of these new capabilities and walk through how they can work together. I'm hoping the session can be interactive. Feel free to post any questions you have into the Q&A box. We have folks that are monitoring those, and we'll address those as they come up if they're appropriate, or at the end. So with that, let's get started and go to the next slide. So we have a poll. Kenna, are you going to bring this one up? All right, thank you. I see Kenna's brought up the poll. So the question is, how many companies run workloads on at least one cloud provider? So by how many companies, this means how many companies does your cloud provider, or sorry, am I misreading this question, Usman? What percentage?
That's exactly right. Like Phil, I mean, I was just curious. We know that everyone is moving to the cloud. Just curious how much, what folks think is the percentage. Is it 10%, 30%, 40%, 100%? I've always been curious what our thoughts are.
Thanks, Usman. All right, so the answers are coming in, and the most common answer is 40 to 60% of companies run workloads on at least one cloud provider. All right, and the answer is 97% of companies use at least one public cloud provider. And this is from the Flexera State of the Cloud report. It used to be the RightScale State of the Cloud report. They do an annual survey every year, looking for trends in the cloud and trying to identify what tools are needed to help people. But what's really interesting here is, it used to be that the biggest problems were coming into the cloud. And one of the themes that we're going to touch on today is now a lot of companies are already in the cloud, and that brings a lot of new problems around getting value out of the cloud, reducing costs, and these kinds of things. Let's move to the next slide. So 41% of enterprises workloads are running in the public cloud. And again, so this is a huge jump from just a few years ago. Migrations have been happening a lot into the cloud. This just represents kind of two things. One is a lot of new workloads coming into the cloud, but the second thing that it represents is a new way of running IT operations and running IT workloads. As they come into the cloud, things change, and that's one of the big topics for us today. Next. All right, Usman, I think I'm handing it over to you now.
Sure. Thanks, Phil. So as Phil mentioned, right, the enterprises are definitely moving to the cloud a lot more than they were a few years ago. And with that, the cloud is really changing how all of us do work. Oracle is definitely enterprise as well, and we've had our own cloud migration. So as we move to the cloud, we've all had some pretty fundamental shifts. And one big one is that the core economic model itself is changing, right? We are used to a CapEx model, and we're all transforming from a CapEx model to an OpEx model. And that really transforms how all of us track, book, and report on our IT spend. So over the past year, we've been speaking to an increasing number of business users. These are financial operators, these are application managers, these are IT administrators who are all bringing their expertise to the cloud, and they need to make sure that the companies are successfully moving and are able to run their businesses in the cloud. We know that these personas are super critical to any company's success, and to address these new personas that are coming in, we made changes to the console and platform to scale and make it easy for you to operationalize your cloud footprint. So let's talk about what we did there. One of the common themes that came up as we looked at industry and as we spoke to these folks was, it's still really hard for people to successfully and predictably move to the cloud and manage their costs, right? 61% of customers are telling us that cost management is actually their #1 initiative for this year. And that's a lot. I mean, if you can't be careful and if you can't be predictable in your cost spend, that's a real risk in moving to another environment.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that, Usman, and this is again from the same report, where only probably 2 or 3 years ago, I forget the details, but in fairly recent times, the #1 problem used to be migrating more stuff to the cloud.
Right.
And we see this phenomenon that now you've got all your stuff in the cloud, and it's this unlimited buffet where developers can just come and consume whatever they want. And then there's this new kind of problem that you have to deal with that comes from kind of this freedom and this agility with the cloud, but then there's this other factor that you have to consider.
Yeah, makes sense. Actually, I really like the whole idea of the buffet, right? So that's actually one of the key problems. As we've spoken to different folks, we've kind of coalesced on these core problems that people are seeing in cloud platforms. And first is actually, it's gotten a lot easier, but getting started in the cloud is still too hard. As Phil said, there's a lot of building blocks that are given to you, but there's not a lot of guidance on how those building blocks work together or best practices on how to put them together. We really do think that the console and platform can do better here. Secondly, it can take weeks or months once you get started to get to a meaningful solution, a real application that you can try out and you can see the value of your investment. Wouldn't it be really good if if we could help you lower your bar to get to that aha moment, right? The moment when you realize that your cloud investment is worth it. Third, we're seeing that if you're a financial operator or administrator, there's still not a lot of very good set of tools to help you do your job. Even reading a cloud bill can be really difficult at times. Fourth, once you have started operating at scale, it can be difficult to predict costs and to avoid these massive cost overruns in the cloud as well. And finally, and I think most critically, I think the biggest problem is that the onus is on you as the user to get things right. The platform does not give you directed help on how to manage or optimize your cloud environment. We definitely need to do better here, and we can do better. So instead of that, what if we gave you a set of intuitive, quick guides that made it really simple for you to stand up your first application and get started? And we simplified how information is organized in the console so that you could get back to your stuff more quickly. And what if we added a set of new visualization tools that are deeply integrated into the console so that you can monitor and manage your environment, and that were deeply personalized to your use case, no matter what that is? And what if we brought proactive personalized recommendations to the cloud that autonomously evaluate your cloud environment and give you curated recommendations on how to reduce cost and optimize your environment? And what if we guarantee that all of these tools that are in the cloud console and in the platform will be available to you free of cost at no expense ever? I think that would be better, right?
Yeah, it seems better. Is that the standard in the industry, Usman?
No, definitely not. So a lot of other cloud providers are going to charge fairly extensively for platform features, or some beginning parts of the feature might be free, and then they might move to a paid model. All of the features in the console and platform for OCI are designed to be free. We want people to be able to manage and operationalize and scale. So we're not looking to make money in these spaces. We're really looking to make your life easier. So a lot of different things we're talking about today, but in general, the key themes we're going to be hitting on. We think that cloud experiences should be very intuitive, they should be very actionable, and they should be smart. And we'll talk about the 8 new portfolio features that we are launching today that map to these features. So let's go to that and look into them in some detail. First, I'm really excited to announce the launch of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Quickstarts. Quickstarts are fully managed templates that let you stand up the most common applications that you, our customers, are running in the cloud today, and they'll let you deploy production-ready applications in minutes. And rather than you having to read tons of documentation or tutorials even before you start doing anything, you can start deploying these rich, complex applications that span technologies like containers, autonomous databases, CI/CD pipelines, all of these and many more with just a few clicks and in a few minutes.
Usman, this is cool. So I like for folks that are on the call that are familiar with OCI, they probably know that we've had a quick start section for a while. So what's new about these new, what's different about these new quick starts versus the old ones?
That's a great question, Phil. The quick actions that we have today in the home screen is more around standing up a compute instance or spinning up a VCN. So that's very much spinning up a resource. These quick starts are full end-to-end solutions. They'll spin up multiple infrastructure options. You'll spin up an instance. You'll spin up a load balancer. You'll spin up a database, basically an entire solution. And you can use that to try out a CI/CD pipeline, or you can deploy a website, or you can do something much more complex like signing up a multi-tier cloud native application with load balancers and a backing database. All of that is fully available and is very simple to set up directly from the homepage.
Got it. So before we offered kind of easy ways to find the resources that you wanted to launch, and now we're actually transforming it to have full solutions.
That's exactly right. And because we're automating that initial setup, customers can start using this full application straight out of the box, or they can really customize it to whatever their own needs are. So Quickstarts are actually powered by Oracle Resource Manager. And that makes it really easy to customize these applications because it's based on open source Terraform. And so if you're standing up an application using Quickstart, you can run it on OCI, but you can also download that stack and you can run it in your on-premise environment, or you can run it in another cloud. So, it gives you a lot of options to use Quickstart as a value accelerator if you just want to get to a POC quickly and see the value of the cloud, or a deployment accelerator that will really let you stand up an application and customize it to your needs. And with this, you have a powerful new tool directly from your homepage that'll let you get started very quickly on the cloud. One last note before we move on, Quickstarts will be going into limited availability very soon. So please reach out to us if you want early access. So second, we're introducing the new navigation menu, which is now deeply customizable to your needs. As you guys must know, OCI has grown massively over the past few years. We've gone from a handful of services to over 120 services available in the console today. And as we've grown, customers need obviously a much more efficient way to navigate the console. So with the new navigation menu, you can now quickly search for the services that you care about, and you can pin them directly to your home. It's like going back to that buffet, right? You can very quickly find the right service, pin it to home, and you'll be always able to refer back to it either through a pinned link on home, or the console and the menu will also remember what you were doing last. So you can actually get back to your recent work much more quickly as well. You've also made it much more, we've also organized the services that are in the console in a more logical way. So you can actually discover features and see related services that you might not have seen before. And really, this is our first step in making the console much more deeply personalized. So later this year, we'll be introducing a bunch more updates that will bring a more focused view of the console and of your navigation. And that's really focused to what you are going to be doing on OCI.
Hey, Usman, before you move on, one thing that I'll just comment, inside of OCI, we get to use these features a little bit ahead of other folks. And one of the things that is my favorite feature with this new nav is that search box. I'm used to, it's good to understand kind of where to find services in the menu, but what's also cool about this is that there's an alternate. If you're just looking for monitoring, you can just type monitoring into that search box and it will bring you right there. And I feel like, especially with a lot of our developer audience, they much prefer kind of typing for what they want rather than searching for it in the UI. So I just wanted to call out that, personally on this new nav, I like the personalization, I like the pins, but what I like the most is just that search box.
Yeah, I love that feedback because we're really thinking of making search a first class, much more of a first class citizen, and making the navigation menu a search forward experience. Because let's say we're at 120 or so services right now, we'll be growing by leaps and bounds over the next few years, right? So we want to make it always easy so that you can find your services and you don't have to go scrolling and browsing like you used to in the past. So yeah, we're hoping that this can make your life a lot simpler. But, so let's say you found your service and now you're like, you're thinking of what do I do next? So to go along with the new navigation menu, we're also introducing service overview pages. And service overview pages are going to be your new source of truth for getting started, for managing and monitoring your services. So when you first start to use a service, let's say the networking service, which we know can be fairly complicated, the overview page will give you comprehensive how-to guides. And it'll give you tutorials and embedded quick starts that will very quickly let you start out and get started with the service. And after you've been using the service for a while, the overview page will transform and become your bird's eye view for that entire service. It'll give you things like a summary view of your service health. It'll give you your calendar of upcoming events, and it will also become a way for you to access recommendations on how to optimize your usage of the environment using Advisor, CloudGuard, and some of the other features that we'll be talking about today. So I really do think that these three features, the three capabilities we're speaking about, quick starts, navigation, and service overviews, give you a much more powerful way to get started in the cloud and reduce your time to seeing value.
Yeah, hey, Usman, just before you move on, I think another thing that I think the overview pages are really interesting. I'll share an anecdote that I had. Which is I'm not a networking guy, and I feel like sometimes you find people that are really deep in the network, and at least initially with OCI, I'll take the networking example. You had to really understand what you were doing, create VCNs and gateways and a bunch of other entities. What I like about the quick starts, not only do they or the service overview pages, like the networking one specifically, not only does it have a just make me a network button, it tells you what entities it's creating as it's walking through it, so that if you do want to learn, you can. So you have this just give it to me button, but there's also an explanation if you want to learn and tune it later on. So I feel like some of these things are pretty well crafted to serve that purpose as well.
Yeah, and that's a pattern that we're following across the board with our tutorials and our quick starts as well. So when you actually, and we'll show you this as we do the demo of the quick start, when we actually go through a quick start, not only are we just automating that deployment and just standing up the infrastructure for you, we actually show you what we're standing up, and you can learn more. So if you want to go from this early, I just want to stand this up, to I really want to deep dive and deeply understand and change it, all of that information is available for you right from the UI. So that's definitely a pattern that we want to follow in the console. So as we said, we've spoken about how you can get started in the console, but then how do we help you scale and operationalize your environment when you are finally started? With that, I'm really excited to announce another major upgrade to how you can run and visualize your cloud in the console with the launch of OCI dashboards. This is a brand new feature, which is a new way to visualize metrics, logging, and other data in OCI. And this will really let you build these beautiful, powerful visuals with just a few clicks. And with dashboards, you can personalize your console by creating a very simple summary view of a cloud directly from the homepage. You can create a dashboard for pretty much all your use cases. You can create an infrastructure dashboard if you're a DevOps engineer. You can create a billing overview dashboard if you're a financial operator. You can create an application dashboard for a SaaS environment. And really powerfully, you can view them all side by side in one single pane of glass. So at one glance, I can look at my entire cloud footprint and understand exactly what's going on. Not only that, I think the most powerful feature for me that makes dashboards really enterprise ready is the built-in collaboration capabilities. We've built in dashboard groups, and with that capability, administrators or any user for that matter can actually create a set of default dashboards for your entire team. So when a new user comes in, they're going to see this beautiful immersive view of your cloud that's already there. And they can then take that and they can modify the dashboards for their needs. And best of all, like I said at the very beginning, dashboards are going to be natively integrated into OCI service and will always be free of cost. And that's a big difference from very costly third-party dashboarding tools. And we're really hoping that you can use this feature to really bring your cloud into the homepage and really get a summary and bird's eye view of the cloud in one place. Dashboards will be available later this summer. And again, you can contact me or anyone on the call today to get early access to this feature. So if dashboards are giving you your single view of your cloud environment, wouldn't it be good if you got a single view of your cloud support as well? And with today's launch, we're also changing how you can interact with support in the Oracle Cloud. The new OCI Support Center, which is coming very soon, is going to be your truly a single pane of glass for all your cloud support needs. With this new launch, you will no longer have to go to Moz or another website to get cloud support. You will have a simple dashboard directly in the console that will bring together your support chat, your product documentation, your troubleshooting guides, as well as SR management, billing requests, limit requests, all from the same UI. And this is really the first time we've done that. We've really looked to modernize the older Moz system, create a modern, simple UI, and bring together your technical SRs, your billing SRs, and limit SRs, which are all in different parts of the console and really hard to access. And it's not just that, we're also embedding an embedded support button on every single console screen. And we're calling that button the life raft, because that button is always there when you need help. And when you need help, help is going to be always one click away. And so when you click on the life raft, you'll get contextual documentation based on the page you're on. So let's say you're on a compute page and you're trying to connect to an instance that you just spun up. With one click, the life raft will give you the right contextual documentation. But if that isn't enough, you also have direct access to the chatbot, which is powered by Oracle Digital Assistant. And you can ask chatbot questions on how to connect to an instance, for example, in straight natural language. You can just ask, how do I connect to an instance? And you will get an answer back. By the way, the chatbot is ML-based and it's constantly learning. So the more you interact with it, the smarter it gets. And as other customers interact as well, we're constantly learning and making the chatbot better. But let's just say that even now, you can't self-resolve your issue. Well, we can also make it really easy for you to create the SR because we already know where you are and you're already logged in. So we're simplifying the support creation request only down to 2 fields. All you have to do is give us a summary of what your issue is. And rather than answering the 20 questions you have today, we will automatically add in your environment details, your service details, and the page context for where you are, so that we are able to get this over to the right team quickly and reduce your back and forth with support. And we're really hoping that these features together will lead you to a much faster time to resolution that you're seeing today. Support Center is also going into limited availability in the next few weeks. So again, reach out to us if you want to start using this feature in early access. All right, so now you have your dashboard set up, you have your alarm set up, you're looking at Support Center in one place, and you're really operating at scale. We also want you to be able to manage and monitor your environment on the go. We don't want you to be tied to a single terminal. And the OCI mobile app will give you full access to key metrics and alerts from anywhere, anytime, and let you manage your entire portfolio. With the mobile app, you can quickly view your alerts from the application directly on the app. You can deep dive into those metrics, and you can take remedial action directly from the mobile device. And the mobile app is available on the Play Store and the iOS Store today, so you can start downloading it and start using it. With that, Phil, do you want to step us through some of the new cost forecasting features?
Yeah, thanks, Usman. So we're going to demo this in just a few minutes, but we've had a few waves of cost management improvement recently in our console tools. And before I get to that, I think if some of you have been around for a while and are immersed in this space, you've seen a lot of new things come out over the last year or so. So this cost analysis tool, for example, we shipped this a year ago, and we've been improving it ever since then. And forecasting is one of the newest things that we've added to it. And the point of this, and we're going to get into it in the video a bit more, is again, kind of coming back to this analogy of the all-you-can-eat buffet. Oftentimes, your engineers are just deploying resources into the cloud, and it's just very difficult to understand if you're going to exceed your budget or if you're going to be under budget. So this forecasting that we've added, it allows you to just forecast out to whatever time period you want. So if you're doing a monthly budget, you can forecast out to the end of the month. You can forecast by month till the end of the year if you want to see if my behavior stays relatively as it has been, what's my spending going to be? And the cool thing is that forecasting is tied into budgets, and we'll cover that a little bit in the demo. The other thing is Advisor. And Advisor is something that we released last fall, and we had our first big wave of improvements that we've added to it. So I'll talk a little bit about Advisor first. So Advisor is our smart platform that looks for ways to make better use of our cloud. And when we launched this in the fall, we started with a bunch of cost management recommendations, which is really the bulk of what's new, because the security recommendations were just kind of tying you into Cloud Advisor, which has been around for a little bit. CloudGuard, which had been around for a little bit. And the cost management recommendations, they were actually based on algorithms that we built internally to reduce our own cost. I feel like oftentimes what's interesting is that Oracle running its own services in the cloud has the same type of problem as other large companies. And this initiative started as an internal effort to reduce our own consumption in the cloud. And what we did is we took those algorithms and we actually productized them into Cloud Advisor. So the basic thing that Cloud Advisor does is it generates these cost management or these cost savings recommendations. And I'd say that the two most profitable ones, or the two most important ones, the ones that end up saving the most money, are downsizing underutilized VMs. So if we find that there's a VM that has high or low CPU and low memory utilization and low network throughput, then we recommend downsizing it to save money. And then the other one is deleting unused storage. And so when we launched this, we had, we pretty much published a list of recommendations, and there was very little configuration. Again, kind of from our internal effort, we realized that we needed more advanced business logic to help tune which recommendation profiles we were using on what part of our environment. Sometimes you have parts of your environment that are very sensitive to availability, and you'd rather spend a lot more money to have that guaranteed uptime versus other parts of your environment where you'd rather it be as cheap as possible and you're willing to have the workload suffer a little bit. So we introduced the ability to customize which profiles apply to which part of your environment. And that's one of the big things. And the other big thing that we added is more what we call quick fix flows. And I'll show that to you in the demo in just a few minutes.
So we've been speaking a lot about these capabilities that are in the platform that we're launching today. Let's actually show you on how these services are going to work together. And if you're a DevOps engineer or an administrator, how you can use them in a seamless flow to get started, to scale up, and get support very quickly as well. So let's have a look.
In this demo, we will show you how recent enhancements to the OCI console make it easier than ever to start building on Oracle Cloud and then monitor what you've deployed. To get started, we'll use Quickstarts to deploy a Jenkins CI/CD pipeline to OCI in minutes with just a few clicks. You can see that the Quick Start panel flies out and gives you an overview of what will be deployed over the next few minutes using automation. We want to give you a minimum number of configurations to set up, so you have control over important items like passwords without getting bogged down in the details that only experts would care about. We'll set a password and click Start Deployment, and we begin deploying Jenkins. At this moment, deployment is underway for our Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. You can stay here to monitor progress, learn more by reading the accompanying documentation, or come back when it's complete. Now that our deployment is complete, we can launch Jenkins right from this panel. Log into Jenkins using the username and password we entered during setup, and we're in. Now we can start building a software project, or set up a distributed build, or anything else we need to do with Jenkins. To deploy Jenkins, we spun up a variety of resources for you. Let's check out one of them, the compute instance we're running Jenkins on. I can get to these quickly using the redesigned OCI navigation menu. The new menu has featured items, recently visited items, and it allows me to pin the services I care most about so I can get back to my work quicker, like compute instances. Here in the Compute Instances plugin, we can check in to see how our Jenkins VM is performing. It looks healthy, and we can scroll down to see some visualizations on performance, memory utilization, and more. You can always dig into your individual resources this way, but if you're trying to monitor your cloud environment, you probably need a better solution, which is why we're building Oracle Cloud Dashboards. Let's navigate there now. With the new Oracle Cloud Dashboards, I can monitor my entire cloud environment, no matter what I'm trying to do, by setting up my own custom monitoring. Let's check it out. my administrator has created this dashboard that's visible to all users as a baseline. It has information on all the deployed resources in our tenancy. It has utilization charts on some of our most important resources. It has logging information, and it has this markdown section where our administrator has created a README for people like me to understand the dashboard. Let's extend this dashboard by adding a widget to allow me to look at the CPU utilization of VMs running our Quickstarts. We'll select monitoring chart. We can resize it and save. Now we'll configure the widget to pull the correct data. Compute agent data. We'll look for CPU utilization, look for the max. We could change the chart type here, but we'll stick with the line chart. Hit submit, and the dashboard is updated. You can see how easy it is to set up a customized dashboard. It's deeply integrated into our services, so you can access this data with just a few clicks. And you can now share this with your team using dashboard groups so that they can also see the same dashboards and you could build off each other's work like we did just now. That is the power of the new Oracle Cloud dashboards. In addition to using dashboards while at your desk, you might want to use the new OCI mobile app to monitor your cloud environment while on the go. Earlier, I set up a number of databases and block volumes in my tenancy. Let's see how we'd monitor them from my mobile. One great use case for the app is responding to alarms. You can see I have 5 recent alarms. I'll click on the first one to look into it more. Here, we see an alarm is firing on our autonomous database. We see a quick summary explaining why the alarm fired, the severity, when it was triggered, and then the alarm history, as well as that it's already been suppressed. You can do this and more with the mobile app. While we hope things won't go wrong for you, and if they do, alarms will help you catch them before they become a real issue, sometimes you'll need a little bit more help. So, we've built an in-console support experience to help you where you are. Here, we're looking at the email delivery service, where I'm having trouble sending an email from an approved sender. I can't immediately figure out what's wrong, so I'll open up the help experience. We automatically find and bubble up the right documentation for you, so you don't have to search for it. In most cases, this documentation will have the answers you need for the issue you're seeing. If we still don't have the answer, we can launch a chat experience right here to ask for more help. For example, let's ask the chatbot how I'd add a user to my tenancy. It recognizes what I'm trying to do, it has a link to the right documentation, and has helped me quickly solve my problem. But if something still isn't working, you can also submit a support request right from this panel. Let's see what that looks like. It's quick and easy to submit a support request from the console. And it has the added benefit of allowing our support team to get the context of what page you were on or what resources you were looking at when you submitted the request, so we can get to an answer faster. We've also created a new support center in the console to serve as your single home for all things support. You can monitor the status of current and past SRs, you can launch a chat experience, view documentation, and more. As you have seen in this demo, we've been working hard to make it easier for you to get started in the cloud, effectively and efficiently monitor your cloud environments, including on the go, and quickly get the help you need if you do run into issues. Log into your account or try a 30-day free trial today to check out how these improvements make building on OCI easier than ever.
So as we just showed, within 5 to 6 minutes, you were able to spin up your Quickstart directly from your homepage. You were able to then create dashboards for that Quickstart. You were able to get support. And this is a common workflow that I do every day, every week as part of my day-to-day work on the cloud as well. So I'm really hoping that you guys can try this out and let us know and give us your feedback on how these services and features work together and how we can make them even better. So with that, let's actually jump into, now that you stood up your infrastructure, how you can predict and manage the costs on that infrastructure.
Demo.
Phil, do you want to tell us a little bit more about this?
Sure. So this will just go into a bit more of the details on cost forecasting and optimization. I kind of hinted at some of that in the earlier slides, but the demo kind of speaks for itself. So just start it up. Hi, my name is Phil Newman. I'm Director of Product Management at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and I work on our platform and commercial systems. I want to talk a bit about some features that we've released lately in the areas of forecasting and saving money using Advisor. What we're looking at now is cost analysis. This is our tool that helps you break down your spending. And we have a time series view here that shows that recently you've done some deployment that's increased your cost, or at least that's probably what happened. And the question that you have here is this going to break my budget? Oftentimes it's really hard to see based off of past spending what the future spending is going to be. So one thing we released recently is the ability to forecast future spending. And all I have to do here is to turn on my forecast and go out to the end of the month, and I'll be able to see what my forecasted spending is for the month of June 2021. So I'll just switch over to a cumulative forecast here, or a cumulative chart, which is going to show me my cumulative forecast, which is going to show me exceeding, going a little over $1,000 in spending based off of that uptick in consumption from that deployment that just happened recently. Now, this is all good. Now, the problem is what happens if I'm not watching cost analysis? What happens if somebody does a deployment, it's over budget, and I don't know about it? What we've had for a while to help with this is budgets. And I'll just go back here to the budgets page. And you can see here, I've created a budget for my tenancy. You can scope a budget either at a tenancy level or at a compartment level or at a cost tracking tag level. And what budgets let you do is it lets you get notified when certain thresholds are crossed. So you can see here, this is a budget for $1,000, and you can see that there's an alert that will trigger when forecasted spending crosses 100% of the budget. So even though I've only spent $670 this month, I'll get an alert because this budget is forecasted to exceed $1,000 for this month. And this lets you stay on top of spending and make sure that you catch spending increases that will exceed your budget before you notice them. By default, we send out emails for budget alerts, but budgets can also be integrated into the notification service. You can write functions against events that budgets trigger. Budgets use all of the standard pieces in the OCI monitoring ecosystem. The next thing I want to talk about a little bit is Advisor. So Advisor lets you see what resources are consuming more money than you want them to be, or than they should be. So I'll just switch over here. If you find that you are over budget and you want a way to reduce your cost, go right into Advisor. So when you land on Advisor, you'll see some cost savings and security recommendations. I don't have any security recommendations in this tenancy, but I have about $103 in estimated cost savings from these recommendations. If I go into the recommendations, what you'll see here is I have a few of them. Remember, we had just over $100 in potential savings, and you can see here that $95 of those, $95 per month, are in the downsize underutilized compute instance recommendation. And usually for most customers, this is the most valuable recommendation to them. You can see here I have 2 instances that have fairly low consumption, and Advisor is recommending that they go from 2 and 4 cores both down to 1 core. And if we do that, we'll save those $94 that we're seeing here. One thing that we've added recently across all of our recommendation suite is what we call quick fix-its. Quick fix-its let you just from the console, from Advisor, trigger the remediation. Another thing that we've released with Advisor recently is the ability to customize recommendation profiles. So we've always had the ability, especially for downsize underutilized instance, to set different profiles for the tenancy, from conservative to aggressive, and one of them in between, a balanced recommendation. What we found, though, is that a lot of customers have different types of workloads in their tenancies. They have some workloads that availability is more important than anything else, and you're willing to spend a lot more money to get that, and some other workloads that aren't very important, and you want to save cost as much as possible. So for that, we've created overrides. And with an override, you can say, for a part of my tenancy, switch it to aggressive. So for example, if you have a certain compartment with all of your development resources in it, you can say, for that compartment, set the aggressive profile. Or if you have, for example, a tag that tags all of your production workloads, you can say, for anything tagged with workload type equals production, use the conservative profile. So with that, Advisor really lets you tune your settings so that you can make the most out of Advisor and really get a good grasp on savings in your tenancy. Thank you. All right, thanks, Usman. Yeah, that was our quick overview of the new stuff that we've been adding to Advisor and forecasting.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And my, previous life in other, when I was using other cloud providers, I've definitely spent over $5,000 accidentally just by enabling, a feature, not realizing that it was going to be so expensive. So this would have saved me a lot of money and a lot of pain from my personal experience as well. So I'm really excited to actually see this going out as well. Great. So we have some questions as well that were asked in the Q&A section. So Phil, let's jump into those. So I see Galina actually asked a really good question, that does the new support center mean that customers will no longer have to log into Oracle support, and will they be able to administer SRs directly from the console, or is the SR dashboard just an overview page? Galina, we definitely want it, like I said, we want everything in the console to be actionable. And with the new support experience, we're automatically going to link your cloud account to your support account as well. So when you first come in and go into support, we'll ask you a couple of questions. We'll try to automatically get the setup, but with a couple of questions, we'll automatically link those two accounts. And after those two accounts are linked, you have full capabilities to create SRs, to manage SRs, to respond to SRs, and to close those SRs directly from console. So you will no longer have to go to any other site to look at SRs or any other help content. And over the next few months, we're actually going to be adding many more capabilities to make sure that you are able to manage all of your help requests and all of your help needs directly from this from the single pane of glass as well. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so what
Usman, I want to address one that was actually asked twice and is already showing up as answered. And it's essentially about getting an export of inventory in OCI. And folks kind of in the Q&A answered in a few ways, but nobody actually called out what is my favorite way of doing this, which is we have a usage and a cost CSV. And each of those files actually have, for each hour, a snapshot of every resource that you've got deployed in your tenancy, along with metadata around its tagging, what compartment it lives in, how much it cost you, what its usage was. And what's great about it is it's a time series view. And it's actually the data that we use to construct the cost analysis view that I just showed you. But so the good thing about that one is it has, it's very detailed, and it's got a time series view. So you could say, what is the most recent inventory, or what was the inventory at 2 o'clock on Tuesday last week? And you can answer those questions. But it only has billable resources. So it won't have your networking assets and some of those other stuff. And those other things you can get from our search service. So I just wanted to kind of address that a bit too. Depending on what you want the inventory for, there might be one better solution than the other.
Makes sense. Thanks, Phil. That's actually really helpful. Another question that actually came up that I want to address is, will the new support center be available for Fusion applications as well? And so, as Erin called out in the chat, we're really looking to unify support experiences across the board. So if it lives in Oracle Cloud, yes, we will be looking to add support for that in the support center. We're still looking to, we're investigating what that would look like with Fusion applications and other SaaS applications, but it is our goal that you should be able to manage all of your cloud support requests directly from the same UI. So stay tuned, and we'll be talking more about those updates later this year. Another good question, how can you submit enhancement requests that are currently unavailable? As Manish called out, if you reach out to Manish or any of the folks, to Kenna or myself or Phil on the calls today, we will actually be happy to file those requests for you. All of us are in the product management team, so we'll be happy to connect you to the right teams, or take those up on your behalf. So please send your request our way, and we'll make sure to follow up. Okay, I think those are all of the questions that I see. This would be a great time to ask any other questions that you guys have, or any other console or platform features, or any other requests that you have. I would love to kind of hear about them. But with that in mind, let me move on to the next screen. So like we said today, we've been building this set of new features to help you get started, help you scale and operationalize, and lower your risk and cost in OCI. You can try all of these features out today. You can go to cloud.oracle.com to try out Advisor, forecasting, mobile app, and self-service spinning, or you can reach out to Usman.Khan at oracle.com to get early access to dashboards, Quickstarts, and Support Center. And all of these features will be coming early this summer. So please reach out. We would love to hear from you, and we would love for you to try out these features and get your feedback. Kenna, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I want to thank Usman and Phil for this presentation, and everyone who was on Q&A as well. Lovely to have you here, and thank you everyone for joining us. As mentioned before, we're going to have replay and slides posted up in the Cloud Customer Connect forum. So if you want to come back and check it out again, or if you have colleagues you think might be interested, that's all in the chat as well. So feel free to share that. And then come join us on future Thursdays and join us on the forums for more discussions about console or anything else. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.